No gigs, no jam sessions, no rehearsals, no Sunday worship service, not even a little campfire sing-along. This sucks. But if you're a bass player, that doesn't mean you have to stop making music entirely. And in this video, I want to show you how you can keep making music, even in the age of social distancing, quarantine, self-isolation. You can still make music even if you can't be in the same room together. And I'm going to show you how. I don't know about you, but when I don't make music with other people for a while, I go a little bit crazy. I get all irritable and honestly, I get a little bit down. It sucks, yeah? And if you're going through that same kind of thing, you've definitely got my sympathy. But even if you're stuck at home in isolation, quarantine, lockdown, whatever it is, you can keep the music going, and I want to show you just a couple of ways. Now, neither are going to be a full replacement for, playing with other people in the same room. There's no true substitute for, feeling the kick drum thump in your chest, or the feeling you get when you play a sick riff in unison with a guitar, and you're on the same stage. But at the very least, these will scratch your music playing itch and hopefully tide you over until life can get a little bit back to normal. And by the way, these are all things that I've been doing myself so far. The first one is probably the most simple: remote recording. Say you have a song and you want to play, instead of getting together in a friend's garage or a basement or even a legit rehearsal space and figuring it all out and playing together. Instead of doing that, you can build a song layer by layer, like a cake or an onion or a parfait. This is exactly what I've been doing with a buddy of mine, Logan Brewster. You may have seen Logan in an older video I made where we played along actually in Logan's studio to an acoustic version of a Sarah Bareilles song. Now, in an age of, social distancing, self-isolation, obviously that's not exactly possible, right? Logan has a great studio, but it is pretty small. So instead, Logan just started doing everything virtually. Here's how it works. Logan picks an acoustic song with no drums and he wants to record, wants to cover, wants to put his existing drums over. And then he records his drums over the track, sends it to me, I lay down some bass, and then I send it back to him. And then if he needs, he can send it to even more people. I mean, theoretically, he could send it to as many people as he wants. But to keep things simple, 3 or 4 is probably a good starting point. Check this out. Here's a song Logan wanted to add a full band to. It's an acoustic version of a song by Theo Katzman called Hard Work. Such a banger.
So I could comfort you all night. Now you got cold feet, will just let me.
So this is what the original track sounds like. Obviously no drums, no bass, no electric guitar or anything. This is just the unvarnished track, and it sounds pretty good already, right? So Logan listened and then recorded his drum track along with the original, and it sounded like this.
Too much to drink. I use my bare hands to unclog that bathroom sink.
Then he sent it to me and I added my bass. Then finally, Logan recruited another buddy of mine named Dave who added his electric guitar. Sounds pretty sweet, right? Here's what we started with. And here's what we ended up with. I'm into it, right? It's fun. Now these things are sort of, unintentional collaborations, since the original actual artist doesn't know any of us and we're just putting our stuff on top of theirs. But every once in a while, you might actually capture the attention of the artist, which is super, super cool. So it turns out Theo Katzman actually saw Logan's video on Instagram, liked it enough to leave a really sweet comment. How cool is that? This absolutely made my day. I love Theo's music and he's an absolutely killer musician. Now, of course, you don't have to do this with, famous people's songs. You can do this with your own songs or your friends' songs, or you can write collaboratively as well. Just because you're not in the same room doesn't mean you can't make new original music with other people. If you are going to record though, to get the best results with this kind of thing, you'll probably want at least some kind of USB interface like this one. You could just use the microphone in your smartphone to record with, but recording with one of these interfaces can actually end up sounding really, really professional. And if you want the full details on how I record at home, check out my video called Radio Re Bass Tracks at Home for less than $100. I'll put a link to it in the description, but also in this little card up here. It's how I'm making all my music and recording these days. So the next way to make music with other people is way more structured and way scaled up. What if, instead of making music with 3 or 4 other people, you made music with 400 or 500 other people, or even 1,500 other people. That's a completely different beast. But that's exactly what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks. I got an email from a member of the Become a Bassist email newsletter not too long ago who told me about a project based out of Germany, and it's almost like a coronavirus orchestra. Here's how this works. The guy who runs it, Jens, he takes rock songs, think AC/DC's Highway to Hell, or the Kiss song I Was Made for Loving You, and he writes orchestral arrangements of them. Think, trombones, strings, voices, basically anything he can think of. So when he's written everything out in like proper notation, he creates a MIDI file of what he's written that sounds something like this. Then he sends this MIDI file out to hundreds of musicians, singers, drummers, bassoonists, clarinetists, percussionists, everything that's in the score, and he sends the score along with it. And they're usually like pretty big documents, dozens of pages. But it's exactly what he's written and exactly how it's supposed to be played. Now, if he didn't do this and got back 500 people's videos who played the song in their own way at different tempos, it'd be a real mess and it wouldn't work at all. So that's what I mean when I say this is, super structured. Then these hundreds of musicians film themselves playing just their parts, send them back to Germany, where Jens then takes these hundreds of videos, pieces them all together to make a coherent video of the song, and he's doing this with hundreds of people, tons of people. In fact, this week, the Corona Orchestra, it's actually going for a world record for most participants in a virtual orchestra. The goal is 1,500 people. 1,500 people all sending videos of themselves to this poor dude who then has to piece it all together. Oh man, I don't envy him. But it can be really cool though when it's all done. Here's a taste of the one I was a part of last week. Here's what I sent through to Jens. And here's the final product. It's funny, I showed this video to my partner and I was like, oh, there I am for that little frame. And then she laughed. But it's not about how much screen time you get, it's about making music and having a grand old time with 1,500 or so of your closest friends. Now, this one that I showed you, it's not the world record attempt, and at the time I'm shooting this video, I've submitted my kind of submission for the world record attempt, but haven't got confirmation on whether we've set a world record or not. But in any case, I'll put the final video in the description when it's available and as a card in the top right. Alright, the final way of making music during these kind of times doesn't require any friends at all. It's perfect for me. No, I'm just kidding. And it's basically to do all this stuff, but just to do it by yourself. You can multi-track your bass and either write your own music or play other people's stuff. You can do whatever you want. And I've been doing this kind of stuff for a while. If you check out this old video of mine from 3 or so years ago, I played a song that a really dear friend of mine wrote and created an all-bass cover of it, and it sounded like this. Now this really isn't super complicated. All you need is some kind of bass line. Put the chords over the top of that. And finally, some kind of melody. It can be the actual melody of the song like this, or you can improvise over the progression like this. My one big piece of advice here is that you really need to start off recording to a click so you can make sure you stay in time with yourself, otherwise things can get all out of whack and it's not what you want. But that is the kind of basics of things. Now, I'm sure there are other ways to keep making music. It's not limited to just the ones I've talked about. And if you have another way, let everyone know in the comments. Even though we may not be able to go outside that much, we can still keep being musicians and still keep being creative. Like I said though, most of the time to do these kind of things, you'll get the best results using some kind of USB interface. But in case you don't know exactly how to do that, I go over the whole process in this video right here. You'll learn exactly how to make professional sounding bass tracks without spending thousands on a studio. In fact, you can get started for less than $100. So I'll see you in that video.